BioShock is a 2007 first-person shooter set in an alternate 1960. At the start, players take control of the silent protagonist Jack, the only survivor of a violent plane crash in the mid-Atlantic. After crawling from the wreckage and swimming to a nearby lighthouse, Jack rediscovers the entryway to Rapture, a forgotten underwater city. As Jack descends towards the city, he and the player are informed of Rapture's history. Some years before the game begins, idealist Andrew Ryan created the city of Rapture as an escape for those who, like he, rejected methods of control such as religion and government, but the city was doomed from the start. Sometime after the founding of Rapture, scientists synthesized the chemical compound Atom from sea slugs on the ocean floor. At first, Atom was a wonder drug, able to rearrange the user's genetic code to grant them fantastical abilities. Unfortunately, it proved to be highly addictive and horribly damaging to the human body after repeated use. Rapture fell into anarchy, as its insane and mutated citizens fought each other over what remained of the drug supply. Thrust into this horrifying and hostile world, Jack and the player must battle their way through what remains of Rapture's mutated inhabitants and try to make it back to the surface. According to Pete Metzger of the LA Times, when 2K Games released BioShock in 2007, it took the gaming community by storm. There had never been a video game quite like it. Its complex characters, unique setting, and mature story all felt like they belonged in a feature film rather than something purchased at GameStop. BioShock is gorgeous, with Rapture's design taking influence from 1920s New York and Art Deco architecture. The game's musical score is perfectly matched to its period and atmosphere. Gameplay is both frantic and exciting, with a variety of weapons and Atom-granted abilities at your disposal. Mixing action, horror, tragedy, and beauty, BioShock presents a unique interactive experience. It is rare that a video game is released that really makes the player think, long after they have put it down. Something that separates BioShock from other great first-person shooter games is its use of elaborate and engaging themes. The themes from BioShock that I will discuss are isolation, survival, and morality. There are many more present in the game, but I simply don't have time to discuss them all. BioShock will present the player with many different environments and situations that make them pause and think about what they are about to do, one of the reasons why the game is so unique and so special. I agree with Ryan Lazardi's opinion that BioShock's presentation of mature and complex themes for the player to consider is what sets it apart from other great first-person shooters. Players are immediately confronted with the theme of isolation in BioShock. Right off the bat, the playable character of Jack is isolated from society when his plane crashes in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. He becomes exponentially more isolated from normal human society once he descends into the city of Rapture. Built on the bottom of the sea, Rapture is so alien and distant from anything on the surface world that it's almost as if Jack has stepped onto a different planet. This uniquely terrifying and isolated place is what Jack and the players of the game must try to survive in together. As players make their way through the game, they are forced to defend themselves against the mutated citizens of Rapture. The theme of survival is at the forefront of BioShock's story and gameplay, as players are forced to kill or be killed. The morality of BioShock goes way deeper than simple survival instinct, however. Further into the game, the player is given a choice to either rescue a character called a little sister or kill her and take her Atom for himself. There are incentives to either path, as rescuing her will not yield the player nearly as much of the Atom drug, but harming too many little sisters will change the game's ending. It's moments such as this that set BioShock apart from other mindless shooters. BioShock had a great impact on video games and game culture, if less on society overall. The game is difficult to place on the skyscraper model. Among gamers, BioShock is at the highest point, the apex of video game culture. It is widely regarded as one of the greatest video games ever made. Among people in general, however, BioShock could be considered middle culture. It is a well-made and entertaining game with a good story, but is nothing more than that. On the culture map, I believe it would be appropriate to place BioShock at the point in which the unfamiliar and innovative lines intersect. The process of video game design is very challenging and requires both a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity. This is no different in the case of BioShock, which is famous for its very creative story, even by video game standards. BioShock was released in 2007, making it a 13-year-old video game. Many gamers see BioShock as a masterpiece of game design, artistic expression, and storytelling, even if the actual gameplay is starting to show its age a bit. The game is still incredibly fun to play as you can switch between shooting and using plasmids, the abilities granted by injecting Atom. The graphics still stand up and the unique architecture of Rapture is still just as beautiful and fun to explore as it was when the game was first released. BioShock is an example of what video games can do and how creative they can be. It is an interactive work of art and deserves its reputation as one of the greatest video games ever made. I still own my copy for the PS3 and I will never give it up. My name is Jared Rafnson. You have been listening to my media criticism project about the 2007 game BioShock. These are my sources. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.